Welcome to tonight's version of Radio Waves, and we're doing WSJT-X again, and we are using tonight the fabulous ICOM 7300. So we're on at the moment 80 meters. We're running it through an AH4 tuner, and tonight we've picked up a few contacts, but nothing very far. So we're just trying to see what the bands are like. I think the bands might be a little bit better on 40 meters. The grid tracker is showing about 40 meters is a better picture, so we might try and do a bit of 40 meters. I've got a couple of videos to come up on the stream soon. I've got a couple of antenna ones, one on the 7300. Did take a little bit of tuning for the 7300 to work with WSJT-X. Now, it was tricky in a way that I had to actually set up some of the settings, because every time I started clicking on the transmit, it would take me out of data mode or digital mode, which was a bit strange. I didn't think it would do that. If you look at the screen at the moment, we've got USB-D, D for data. When I was clicking over to enable transmission on the WSJT-X, what it was doing was it was cutting out the data section. So I had to go in and tweak some settings. One of the things I did learn from doing a WSJT-X with the Signal Link and the ICOM 7000 was to use a very low ALC. I think that was one of the problems with some of the earlier streams that I did, where I was having trouble getting out, and my SWA a little bit later on just got higher and higher, and it was simply, I didn't realize that the ALC just has to be one notch. When we're going to transmit there, ALC is the top one above the red line. SWA is this one down here. We're using the AH4, I think I mentioned. And if you look at the transmit on the next round, which is in 15 seconds, you'll see, let's have a look. So the SWA is around about 1.5 to 2. And so it's about 1.7. And there it is there, just one little notch on the ALC. So that's one of the keys that I think what was happening was I was overdriving, and in digital, you can overdrive very easily without knowing it. One of the other interesting things is that lower power can be better, and that's a fantastic thing for us amateurs, because we like to use as little power as possible. So we don't cause interference with other things, be it old radios, old lights, sensor lights, a whole lot of other things. And last night I was trying different power settings on the dipole, and I had a higher power. I was going up to 80 watts, and funny enough, as soon as I dropped down to 50 watts, I could be heard a lot wider than what I could if I was on a higher power. So that was fantastic. I love the idea that I could go to a lower power and get much further afield. So I'm running away there with, I shouldn't say that because that's what happens when your transmitter runs. Running there with WSJT-X. I'll bring up our slate here with where we're being seen, and at the moment we have across Australia, so 5 minutes ago. Suva 7 minutes ago. So our signal, I can tell by that our signal isn't getting anywhere near as what we did last night. Last night we were getting quite a fair distance from that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll check the tune. So I'm going to just go down to ready, drop the power. I'll take us out of transmit. I'll drop it down to about 10 watts. And I'm going to take the tuner out. That's the AH4. I'm going to switch over to the dipole. Sounds nice. And let's see what happens here and see if I can get a swar on this. Okay. That was very quick. Okay, so let's go back to data, upper sideband data. Now I'm going to do a quick test and be ready to take it off if the swar is too high. Okay, yeah, we're over 3 there. So I don't want to use that. I'm going to go to 40 meters. Do a tune. That was another quick one. Okay. Okay, so we've got a 1-to-1 swar there. I'm happy with that. We might stay on 40 meters here. I'll just blank the screens out. And okay, let's bring our power, bring it up to 50%. I just want to do another tune test. Okay, our ALC is a little bit high. I'm just going to bring that down to 1 on the meter. Okay, 3. It's very finicky. There we go. There's 1. Just on 2. I'll leave it at 2 for the moment. And we're on 7074. We're going to put our call out. And we'll see now that we've over to the dipole whether we are getting out a little bit better than we were with the long wire and the AH4 tuner. So those markers there are showing our 80 meters. We should start to see some blue markers there if we're getting out on 40 meters. So we're getting a bit of decode there. I'm running this through a Raspberry Pi, and if anybody's watching this who's run this through a Raspberry Pi, there's good and bad points. One of the bad points that I think with the Raspberry Pi is every time I reboot the Raspberry Pi, and actually now we've got a hit on New Zealand at the moment just now. One of the bad points is that every time I reboot the Raspberry Pi, I find that the audio settings reset themselves, whereas if I use Windows or a Mac with WSJT-X, the settings stay pretty much the same as what you left them. And I find that a bit clumsy, especially if I get if I have to reset the Raspberry Pi just to get a clean boot. Yeah, it's quite annoying that I have to set the receive and the transmit values. We're just going a little bit low on the transmit output power there, or the audio output power, but we are being heard a bit wider now. We've got a North American hit, South Australia, so that's promising. It's just the middle of the night in North America, and I'm not expecting a large amount of contacts in North America. One of the things also with the Raspberry Pi is that it's very fine in the output power. As you can probably see that the ALC there on, it's gone back up to 3. Just going to drop it down. Oh, it's gone completely. There's 1. Okay, we'll stay there at 1. That's good. Now, there's a W0GJ. We'll give him a CQ. We'll reply to his CQ and see what happens with that. Got about 8 contacts last night, which isn't huge. Certainly in terms of North American standards, you probably get that in about 10 minutes. But certainly here in VK land, we do get, there's a lot further for our signal to travel. And you're relying on the time of day. I got a lot of my hits at 1 o'clock in the morning local time. Okay, so we'll see if we can get that W0 station. And that's on the lakes area of the US. I'll just zoom in a bit and see where we're hitting on terms of. So I'll just explain the screens that we're seeing here. Bottom right-hand corner, you're seeing the 7300. To the left, you're seeing the Raspberry Pi, which is outputting WSJT-X. And the map of the world that is in the top right-hand corner is PSK Reporter. And so that's reporting where we're being heard with my call sign. Underneath that, you probably can see Grid Tracker. Grid Tracker is good, but it does tend to only pretty much show the station that you're talking to. I probably haven't got it properly configured. I do like the fact that it tells me what bands are active. That's one of the reasons I do like Grid Tracker, and I'll come back and show you Grid Tracker on, if I move this out of the way, you could probably see Grid Tracker a bit better now. And Grid Tracker pretty much draws a line there between where you are and where your station is you're trying to transmit to. If you look on the top right-hand side as I bring it over, you probably can't see that. Yeah, it's only showing the. Here we go. It's just coming into view now. So you can see on the Grid Tracker there, just coming into view. Tells you it's decoding, tells you it's transmitting, and we're just losing it again now. It's going behind there. Bit of a lag delay there. I'll try and get it over. Oh, there it is. Big delay here. Okay. Maybe I should just stop and keep it still. Okay, you can probably see it starting to come into view there now. Now with Grid Tracker, tells you when you're transmitting, tells you when you're decoding, and you can see there that it's got a big red line that's showing 40 meters. That's the activity on 40 meters. which I find quite good. That's a good indication of what bands are working at the moment, what bands are good at the moment. So that's a nice thing that Grid Tracker does. But I do like the fact that PSK Reporter does give you a better view of actually what stations that you're hitting at any one time. And I think one of the other things that's really good about there we go, we're getting East Coast of America now. One of the good things about WSJT-X is, even if you're going to do voice, I think it's really good that if you use WSJT-X before you do some voice, you can see at any particular time what bands are actually active, and I think that's a great thing to get a bit of an idea of what bands are available to you before you even start transmitting. And even since we started streaming 10 minutes ago, we are now getting, and I'll just go back to our PSK Reporter, we are now getting to the East Coast of the States. And obviously I did change antennas and did do a few things, but it's also down to what the band is active at what particular time. So even in the last 10 minutes, we have now got some activity pretty much where New York is as of 4 minutes ago, according to PSK Reporter. And that's, as I said, that's my signal being heard. Well, it's actually in Massachusetts. So that's not too bad. That's promising. Obviously, that's not people actually listening to your listening out for you. That's actually just you being heard on those active monitors. So yeah, that's good to know that we're now getting out. And if you see down in the bottom here, I'm still running 50% RF power, so I haven't increased the power at all. So that's purely just the band coming alive a bit. I've lost a little bit of ALC. I don't want to go too high there. So let's go back to showing you. Oh, you've got that there. Okay, I'm going to bring that power up. There we go. Oh, too much. There's one. There's 2 bars. I'm going to leave it at 2 because I find it sometimes I lose it. So I want to have 2 bars of ALC there. The SWR is still pretty much 1-to-1, which is fantastic, and that again is on the dipole. So that's pretty impressive that we're getting that 1-to-1 on that dipole. Pretty basic dipole, just a wire with a coil at the bottom for 80 meters, and it's tuned. The radio is doing a little bit of tuning to match the wire. I did put it across a network analyzer, and it did seem to be resonant on 14 megahertz, but it does also seem to be good on 40 meters. It's meant to be an 80 meter dipole, but I find it a little bit hit and miss on 80 meters, but I only had it a short time, so I'd like to give it a good run and try it out and see how we get out after a period of time. So at the moment we're still pretty much being heard on the Asian section. Haven't really got any contacts, although they are asleep. They're just waking up on the East Coast there. Probably not too many people watching us on the East Coast or listening to us on the East Coast. But I'll just turn up a bit of the audio here. And you can probably hear that it's decoding, but decoding in the mud. So what we're getting is pretty amazing, that those decodes are coming from just a very, very muddy signal. Let's have a quick listen to 20 meters there, and very quiet again. We're not transmitting, so we'll just have a listen down to 80 meters, see if there's any activity there. No. And seems to be a little bit more on 40 meters. I'm going to try another setting here. I do have my radio set to fake it. I'm going to take into none and do a quick test here again. Yep. And that means it keeps me on the same frequency, but adjusts the transmit up and down to according to the offset that I've set on here. I'm just going to do another quick test, 1-to-1, ALC2, that's perfect. Okay, let's enable our TX and see where we go with this. Okay, so yeah, we're still getting out to North America. 10 minutes ago, 8 minutes ago, 6, 4. I'm going to up the power on the next over and see what happens there. Okay. We'll go up to 80 watts. Still 1-to-1 SWA. ALC is good. Okay. Now let's see if we've changed anything on our reporter. It's going to go back to CQ. We're not getting that W0 station. Doesn't look like we've gained any advantage there. We're not being seen any better. I'll go to 95. Okay, there's 95. Still on the dipole. All right. Last heard 4 minutes ago was our best one. Right, so I'm going to bring it down again. We'll go down to 50 watts. Still good SWA, still good ALC. and it doesn't matter what digital you're using. I do a bit of broadcast microwave work, and one of the things with the difference between analog and digital with the microwave stuff is that it's all about overdriving. If you overdrive a digital signal, you actually don't get anywhere with it. You actually get worse. And so sometimes backing off the signal can be your best friend. So if I can offer any advice to anybody, one of the things is to try a reduced signal, and that can be your best friend in terms of getting out further. It's all a matter of overdriving. That's the problem that happens when you have too much power in hand and you got that digital signal. Okay, so we're still not getting out there. Right. A lot of noise there. I'm tempted to switch back over to the antenna tuner with the wire, just to hear what the difference is. I think it's still only 9:28 here on the east coast of Australia. I think in the next few hours it'll get better, but not right now for this live stream. Oh, there we go. We're getting heard in the middle of the States now and on the west coast. Might just leave that for the moment. We'll reply to this CQ Yankee Foxtrot 9. So there we go. We're back at 50 watts, and we're now heard east and central USA when we weren't heard anything on 95 watts. So if that's a tiny bit of proof of concept of what I was saying about not having too much power is not always king. And that W0 station is calling again. We don't seem to have any luck with Yankee Foxtrot. So we will try and reply to the CQ of Whiskey Oscar Golf Juliet. Oh, there we go. Yankee Foxtrot's replied. So Yankee Foxtrot looks like Malaysia. Bali, maybe. Indonesia, certainly. Denpasar. Oh, it's right in the middle of Bali there. Okay, so there's at least one successful contact on the live stream there, and that was with Yankee Foxtrot 9, Foxtrot Charlie Oscar. All right, so that's a good one. And final 73s there. Let's put in, we are on 50 watts. So I'm going to update this. I think I was on 60 watts. So 50 watts, and we're on the dipole. All right. So if you haven't used WSJT-X before, your CQ goes out in, you can change these colors, by the way, but these are the default colors, and I actually don't mind these colors. So your CQ or a CQ of another station goes out in green, and you can see by the red there, I'm just scrolling back on the band activity, that red that you can see is the contact that's been made. So that comes up in red, and then once the contact has been made, the generated standard messages happen in the bottom right-hand corner of that WSJT-X page, and it just goes through a sequence of acknowledging the station, and then after that, signal report, and then confirms the reply and offers 73s, and then in the configuration you can have it set to report prompt with logging the QSO. By the way, network services, that's where it's showing the PSK reporter, the more accurate reporting of your station to the other stations, or vice versa if I receive them. But the prompt of the QSO is what the box is at the end there that shows that you've made the contact, and then it just puts it in the logbook. And what I've been doing so far is then putting a USB stick into the Raspberry Pi and using another computer to actually bring the log into QRZ, and then just update the logbook that way. Haven't got anything elaborate set up. I do know that the NIM software on a Windows can log it automatically for you if you use WSJT-X inside that logging software. But for what I'm doing at the moment with the Raspberry Pi, it seems pretty good. And I probably didn't explain the reason I'm using the Raspberry Pi is because it's a standalone computer that's pretty much simply just doing the Raspberry Pi and the grid tracker. So then that frees up the resources of that Pi to just dedicate it for that. Especially while I'm live streaming, I don't want to have my old Mac, which is doing the live streaming, working overtime. It's pretty much having a hard time doing the live stream, and I'm using different live stream encoder to get the signal out. I'm not using the OBS to get the signal out, but if you want to know more information on that, I can do some further information on that. But that gives me the quality, and it streams out on a bonding cellular solution, so the quality is pretty good, not restricted by just having one Wi-Fi signal. All right, well, we're back on our TX routine. It's now morning in the East Coast of the United States, very early morning West Coast. What I might do is we'll take a break and come back when the West Coast is early morning, see what happens there, if we get a few more contacts on the West Coast. Right now we are seeing, let's just go back to our map. Yeah, haven't seen much activity, still on 50 watts for the last 3 to 8 minutes. I think the bands are going to improve as the night goes on. So we'll take a break here and we'll come back a little bit later once the bands start to open up a bit more. So thanks very much for watching this shorter stream, and hopefully we'll get a bit better reception later on in the night.